Hey guys, so this will be our last live video from my Facebook page, so definitely go follow the fix. I'll link them below. All the lives in the future will be going from that channel and that Facebook. I was just trying to draw everyone I know from my personal Facebook over there. And of course, these will be continued to be uploaded to YouTube, where you can find all the other ones if you're wondering, as we continue talking about the overhead squat. And we're also going to talk about plastic and cement kettlebells, because they're super cheap. A lot of my patients are buying these. They said they found a 10-pound at Five Below for $5, which is pretty good. I think a lot of trainers would be like, no, what are you doing? Don't buy cheap kettlebells. Invest and buy a nice competition kettlebell. But I get it, they're very expensive. I'm always on the lookout trying to find good deals. It's hard because these guys are they're pricey. They're very comfortable, they're very nice, they're all the same shape. So you don't have to get used to a different size as you progress. But if you're just getting started with kettlebells, whether you've been doing strength training a lot, or you're just new to strength training in general, try to find, these are two 10 pounds. All right, so we'll talk about these guys and how to use them today. We'll go ahead and use them in our warm-up. But if you've already got a good kettlebell, go ahead and use that. We'll make this work. Angle this down a little bit so we can see. I'll just back it up. How about that? A little bit more than that. All right, that should do it. Let's get through this. So, angling it down so that you can see me seated like this. So kick your both legs out, taking the knees and the ankles, the hips out of the equation. Now, this is hard, and I'll talk about why I got this band on here in a second. You don't need the band. We can just lift up like this in this rack position. So I got my hands inserted in the handles. Maybe there's a better angle. And I'm just trying to straighten my spine. Get up nice and tall. Take some big breaths here. We're lengthening the neck, engaging the core and the hip flexors, getting nice and tall. If that's feeling good, we just take this weight overhead. Now what's cool about the band here is we can go out to the side, do a couple of these motions. This opening motion against the band helps us activate that shoulder a little bit. Because it's hard, especially with heavier weights, you bring them around to the side, they're just going to fall. You have to hold them very close to the head. Really good start. So it just helps that shoulder out a little bit. You can definitely do your overhead squat with this too, which is what we're still talking about today. It's warming up. This is really easy. This was easy. This was easy. Another thing you could do to get your money's worth out of these really cheap bells, just flip them in the upended position, which is here. So maybe you're just working on that rack position to start. This challenges the shoulder and the core a lot more because these want to tip over. So we do the same thing. Press. Don't drop them on your head. A little more challenging. Just 20 pounds, but now, okay, we're definitely working this a little bit more. We're going to just that overhead position, really trying to lock out, straighten, get that whole spine to open up. It's going to challenge everything. It's make your whole body feel really good. So what I like to do is a little walking of the pelvis. A lot of people have twisted pelvises as their hips aren't working right. So whatever position felt comfortable to you, I'm going to try some just here in the rack or just here in the normal overhead position. Just walking that pelvis. Kind of engaging one hip flexor, walking your pelvis forward, walk to that edge of the mat. Walk back to your starting position. It's very tiring on the legs. Be with light weight. Let's do that one more time. Oh, big burn on that hip flexor. Try to keep a little curve in my low back. That's the only trick. Don't let yourself crunch. Be tall. Alright, good. So start at the Edge of the mat, going forward, going back, getting these hip flexors to burn. Next, we'll bring the hip into the game. So just sitting down on your butt. That's taking everything out of the equation. Now, we're going to take just the knees and the ankles out of the equation. So maybe this hurts being in this kneeling position. Go back to the first one. Same thing. Just try the rack for a few. Pinch the handles together. Going up. We're just exploring that hip mobility. Like if we were doing a squat, this is what the hips are doing in the squat. Terrible ankle mobility like me, this will make it a lot easier. So a few there in the rack. Then we can take this overhead. All right, give those shoulders a rest. This really will start to take that stress out of your neck and it'll feel really good. Another thing we can do with these really light bells is you can stack them. So normally you take the lighter one, it's about the same weight over top. Kind of pinch the handles together. And you can even swing that. I don't do a lot of it, especially with competition bells. They clank a lot together, but these little guys, they can handle it. So you can do your one-handed swings. Now I got 20 pounds working one arm, right? The reason I stacked it that way for my left hand, I know it's reversed for Facebook, is so when I go to the rack, that bell is where it's supposed to be. And then I can press this overhead, which I know we can't see. So I'll do it from a kneeling position again. Just do a few of those. Press, squat, rack, press, squat, rack, press. Don't drop it on your head. Not really scared about 10 pounds. Start stacking heavy competition bells on themselves. You want to work up to that. You need a good strong grip. You can tell this band doesn't really bother me. So just leave it on there if you do have a band. I'll show you some more cool things you could do. What are we on there? Let's do 4 more, get 10 each side. Press. Big breath in. We can speed it up, combine the motions. Tightening, pressing, dropping underneath it. So that's what we're doing when we're standing, is we're launching that up, dropping underneath. Instead of me having a strict press before I go, we can use the body to get underneath that kettlebell. It's amazing how tiring that can be, just that light amount of weight. So let's switch it up to the other side. So now I'm going to stack like that. Puts the kettlebell in a little bit of a different position, but it works. Or we can't be as much in the corner of the handle. So as you get heavier, that might feel really uncomfortable on your forearm. They do make wrist guards. I've talked about those and why I don't like them, but maybe for this scenario, I will allow it. Let's keep going. Give you some straight ahead view here. Press, squat. more combining the movements. Dropping underneath it with the squat. So you get 2 of these. It's only cost you 10 bucks. It's a pretty good deal. You can do a lot to start out with. Another cheap option. This is from Rock Weights. I think this one came out less than 40 pounds. I'm not great at mixing cement, but you actually have to put the cement in yourself. I think it was, I got it for a deal, it was $25, including shipping. For the plastic, you fill it with cement, you get an 8-pound bag of cement, it's like $6. So yeah, you're spending close to $30, probably, maybe less, we got some good deals, but for 2 of these guys, it was over 70, and this is not even 40 pounds. So if you're looking for something heavier that's good for deadlifts and swings, yeah, I can use it for racks and everything, or something to bump up from light cement weights. This is a good option from Rock Weights. I have found ones on Amazon for 20 bucks. So again, like we did last time with the swings, you can't just double up. Like here, if I'm doing just 2 hands, now I got 20 pounds right there. Double up my kettlebells, and that's even a trick I use as I get heavier. Especially for deadlifts, want something heavy. Even this is really light. Pretty much everyone should be able to handle this weight for a deadlift. Hinging, straightening spine. With the kettlebell, I find it's more important to focus on the negative, going down to the ground. Slowly, tap, go. Don't even let the weight set down all the way. Very lightly letting it tap, pulling back up. Now, if all the swings we did in the last video bother your back, go back to the deadlift. If the deadlift is bothering your back, go to the founder. Repeat the founder. If the founder is bothering your back, go back to your decompression breathing in various positions. Kneeling, laying, all that. To help strengthen the breath and protect the low back during the deadlift and the swing. So that's how I progress it and troubleshoot if I have pain. Come see Dr. Clyde, the Spine Whisperer, at the Fix as well. So let's go into how this looks with a swing. Nice good double-handed bell. Little handle's a lot wider. It's full of cement, which means you can actually grab it a little nicer. I'm gonna try to straighten my spine out there, back away a foot before I swing. I just like this as a stretch. I'll just put people here for a good hot minute when they're first learning this stance. Just allow them to wiggle their shoulders down, push really hard with their legs in the ground to try to take some of the bend out of the knee, find the tension in the hamstring, the glutes, engage the spine. We're locking it, pulling up against the kettlebell, where it's almost just about to lift. And that's what does the lift. It's not my arms, it's my spine that lifts this kettlebell off the ground just a little bit for the swing. Take a little bit wider stance with this longer handle, but it works. So in the last video I said, see if you can do 100 swings a day, see how you feel. So how did you feel? Let me know in the comments doing all those swings. We did a lot of variations. So you can try those out as you progress. But like I just said, deadlifts, swings, those are your money makers right now. Those will help you the most, especially when you're first starting out. You don't want to break yourself doing all the fancy stuff. Oh, there's 2 things I saw, which was my form was really terrible on that weird one, the lunge swing lunge, whatever. I don't know if I can do it with this taller bell, but you know, it's one of these numbers where you're swinging it, lunging, overhead, that thing. Working on that one still, but I've noticed, now that'll be a future video, that really targets in front of the shin muscles, which made my feet feel a lot better this week. Other thing I noticed was going into the rack position. Keep going with these cement weights today. We'll make this a shorter one. Just try to keep up. So I noticed I had to change my grip. Normally I'm in the corner of the handle. It felt really uncomfortable in the rack position. So I try to take a little bit more of a mid grip. So my thumb is at the end of the handle, and I still point that in between my legs. And it feels a lot more comfortable there in the rack, in the overhead position. But play around it. Maybe it's just more in the middle of the kettlebell, a little off to the side. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So in the rack, I noticed my head went forward, and I was just doing a lot of these forward head translation. So I was trying to catch it softly. What I noticed is as I go up, even in the video when I did the doubles, that neck position was looking better. It was more length. So yeah, we don't want that head drifting forward. The goal is, the hips are coming forward to catch the bell, but not the lumbar spine. We're lengthening and locking that lumbar spine. A little rounding into thoracic, but watch the head. Keep the head pulling back. And naturally, as we go heavier, it will lengthen naturally. So that's one negative against lighter bells. So you're just gonna have to work on that mechanic yourself. And that's my tendency too, so you might not have as much of a trouble with that as I am. Just glancing through the last video. Always check my own form out, right? So those are the two things I saw. So let's talk about deadlifts. If you don't have something that's heavy, and this is actually even better, is we can do some stuff like this. So we got our band, we can step on one, it's on the handles. Get that spine, we're doing that deadlift here with the band. Back up so maybe you can see that. You can also double it up to make it harder. I haven't fully tested out the integrity of these bands, the bands are pretty good. It's the kettlebell I'm more worried about. So we can definitely deadlift there. Just really gonna challenge that spine, those hips to lift. And that's another way to do it if you don't have a lot of heavy weight. You could also just got one kettlebell. Grab this competition bell here. Just another way to do it. Put this through. Big heavy band. Now put my feet in through the loops. And then we're just double hand. Notice I have to go a little bit wider for this one. Which is good, a good contrast to the deadlift we just did. We're stepping on the band with the two kettlebells on the outside. Now we can do the deadlift or sumo. Biggest thing I'd say is the band's pulling hard down on you. Slowly go down to the ground, same idea. So again, that's what I feel does more work. Like in the founder, it's pulling. I'm grabbing the ground with my feet, I'm pulling myself slowly into position. That's gonna fire the front of the body, this spiral chain of muscles. Same muscles I really feel working in that lunge. So that's what we're doing there. Grab the ground with the feet, pulling my hips behind me, using the front of my body, front of my hips, front of my legs, pull me in. Same idea with the deadlift. So you see a lot of people in the gym, always focusing on lifting the weight, which is the back of the legs, your hamstrings and your glutes, making them work in a more eccentric, hopefully more eccentric position than they're used to, which is a good retrainer, but still we need to work on slowly coming down. Tap and go. And usually I feel this twists a little bit, so let's go the other way. So that's gonna challenge the body a little unevenly, but I always like that. That's burning. There's a bit of a heavier band. I'm not sure it tells me the weight on here. No, it doesn't. This is probably over 100-pound band. So you double up the band. Like if you just got something like it's red and it's green, and that purple, triple up if you want. So you keep adding resistance in order to start out something like we just did there. All right, we'll finish with just some overhead squats. It's a good warm up. So whatever you need. I'm gonna start. Maybe we'll drop away from the 2x4s. You can take your mat too. Like if you don't have anything else, you can always just take your mat. That can give your heels a little lift there to work on. Let's go back to our light little weights here. Try to get as much of me in the view here as possible. So we're swing these guys up. Overhead. Great thing about this band, almost like we did with the warm-ups before. I can stretch the band, I know you can't see it. See it on the way down. Breathing in. That allows me to lower my arms a little bit. Bring them out to the side. A little bit more like a barbell. We're gonna do both though. Should not feel this straining in the low back at all. Try to avoid any of that butt tuck. Not that that's always bad, but we do see it often. With low back pain is someone who always tucks the pelvis at the bottom of their squat. Tired, just with 20 pounds. So now, we're gonna do, just like we did before. Now I can't see it. There's one problem with this view. I like the wider, but we'll keep the mat. We'll do 3 rounds. So now this one, just straight up overhead. Might even go for that upended position. Smack myself with the band. Up here, overhead. Let's try that for 10. If not, go back to here. Just want to challenge you a little bit. So go here in the rack. Go up. Just keeping them locked. Overhead right there. Amazing. How tiring that is. All right, so now we'll take our mat out. And we'll just do some normal. if you're, let's just do one hand. So you can do whatever kettlebell you got, or we can do our little pinch the handlebells together. Now what helps me here is I'll come up, whatever side I got the kettlebells, I'll take a step, a breath, step as I press. Step, press, squat. I have to go a little wider for my anatomy. So I'll do a 5 on each side. I like to go from here, just like we're doing on our knees. Same idea. Try to get your mind back where you were. Now we got the ankles working. Knees working. I'm not going very deep. Switch that up. So when you're swinging this, swing the one that's the lighter one underneath you like that. So when you do go to the rack, got it where we want it. So now it's opposite. Straight from this side, maybe. Up. Go. Yeah. Go up, step left. Especially your first few, don't test it. Don't go very deep. Really open up the knees. All right. Of course, 2 hands, probably gonna be harder, but I like to challenge one side of the body over the other. Hopefully that helps you if you're buying these cement weights. Something to start with, and you can get a lot done with them. Even after you've progressed, you can always go back, use them in the up-ended position, like I showed you. Do a lot of cool stuff with that. You can even detach these guys. Didn't really do any single bell stuff. We can run through a lot of the same motions. You could do lunges. You could do kind of your windmills is a great one for shoulder stability. I can do that with a lot of weight, so 10 pounds is pretty easy, but as I get up to something like the 30, that's where it gets a little tricky. You can hold in the rack and do squats, presses, do your windmills. Don't drop it on your head. Not going for elbow there. Chalk is really good for this one. And you'll notice one side's harder than the other. There's a reason I chose my right. Stronger than that one. Let's even it out. So let me see me fail maybe. Harder in the rack, you can tell already. Squat that down. Press it overhead. We're gonna do a lunge. This thing goes down, let's get out of the way. Don't try to catch it. Good to do it in the grass. Lots of fun options, even with lightweight, so you can progress. That position is a lot harder, of course, if you didn't realize. You don't realize right away that position A lot harder than here. A lot harder. You do a lot of weight there. 30, 35. You've done a 40 before that position, that's my max. Or I can get 80 overhead. All right, that's it. So last video on this channel, so please go over to the fix if you want to keep seeing these. Have a great day.